What's up, friends? Welcome back to the neighborhood. My name is Dylan Wren, and joining me today is Andrew Kimball. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing good too. We get to talk about some of our favorite games real quick, so I'm excited. We are talking about the FromSoftware games, specifically the ones we played in doing the research for this podcast. We've got a podcast episode that covers a lot more in depth our feelings on these FromSoftware games. But in doing the research for that and this episode here, this video here, we found out there are a ton of games that FromSoftware has created that we did not realize that they had. They've been around since 1986 and have been doing the Kingsfield series, the Armored Core series, but most notably for us, the Souls, Dark Souls, Demon Souls series with Bloodborne and Sekiro kind of thrown in there. And so with the release of Elden Ring on the horizon, we are both kind of impatiently waiting for for that game to come out. And so in order for us to kind of get a little bit of our FromSoftware hype out there, we decided to do this video and the podcast that you can find on our podcast feed about FromSoftware. And so we are going to go through and rank these games that we have fallen in love with. We fell in love with the genre to the point where both of us are seeking out other games that kind of fall into, you know, like these indies or other games that have come out that sort of have the Souls-like kind of tag to them. And so what are Souls-likes? If you're not familiar with that, it's generally a little bit more of a challenging game with a heavy emphasis on sort of the risk versus the reward. Features a lot of boss battles, not bass bottles, boss battles and tuned combat, and emphasizes the exploration and sort of the mystery of the game. And so, like I said, we are going to go through the ones that we've played or at least been around and felt comfortable rating, mostly in that sort of Souls-like category. We're not really touching the Kingsfield, the Armored Core, the Monster Hunter spin-off game.
Monster Hunter, yeah, PSP game that you have to play now. If you want to hear that reference, go listen to the podcast. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to rank Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. And so with that, we are going to jump into these rankings with our number 6 game on our list. So Andrew, what's your number 6 game?
My number 6 is the original Dark Souls. Because it is a game that I enjoy and I like what it's doing and I like what it sets up for the future, but it is a game that is aged significantly and is somewhat frustrating to revisit in in the modern landscape of Souls-like games.
No, I have it a bit higher on my list, but I can definitely see going back, if you had not played it around the time when it came out, there are a lot of little things that it does that in today's day and age of more modern gameplay features can be a bit frustrating. There's also some of the most just kind of BS parts of that game that you haven't experienced yet. So I don't see this moving the game up on your list when you experience like the Fallen Giants, Tomb of Giants, and the some of the other like later bosses that just kind of mess with you. But yeah, it's a good game. I really enjoy it. And even though it hasn't aged the best, I still think it really holds up well. And if you haven't played the remaster or Dark Souls just in general, I think it's still worth checking out and seeing if you like.
What's your number 6, Dylan?
My number 6 is Sekiro. It's something I'll preface with this, and so that we just don't have to say it constantly, is all of the games on this list are good games. You know, like I don't think there's any denying that. Sekiro is a good game. It's just not personally one that vibes with me. I like the aesthetic. I like sort of that Japanese samurai aesthetic that it's got going on. I like the stealth gameplay and how mobile you are. The combat seems really cool, but I don't feel like I've truly grasped the combat. I feel like a lot of times it's just me spamming the parry button and just not really having a good grasp on the timing of everything. And it's one that I've played through several times up to like the corrupted monk boss, and I just kind of fall off and find my attention being drawn in other directions. So for me, even though it's a good game and I understand why people love it, I understand why it got Game of the Year, just for me personally, it ended up at my number 6.
Yeah, and Sekiro definitely is going to pop up a little bit later on my list, but I did jive with the combat and really enjoy the flow of this game, and I understand the frustrations that a lot of Souls veterans have with Sekiro, it being such a departure from the formula that they had established up to that point. But I think if you can kind of get into the mindset of this is FromSoft's take on an action game, and with a little bit of stealth in there, I mean, there's definitely stealth, but action is the main focus. And I think if you can kind of reset your mind and get yourself into that flow of combat that they really want you to learn, Sekiro is one hell of a game.
Yes, for sure. That brings us to our number 5 game. So you want to start us off there, Andrew?
Sure. Can I predict yours?
Yes, because it's the same game.
Yeah, so we both went with Demon Souls on this one. Me personally, I have not played the original Demon Souls, only the Blue Point remake on PlayStation 5, which I really loved. I think that Blue Point knocked it out of the park aesthetically and visually, and the tweaks that they made. That being said, it is still an older game. Underneath that shiny coat of paint, there are still some frustrations and some jank and some things where it's like, oh, I can see what they were doing here and how that evolved into this in Bloodborne, or how that evolved into this in Dark Souls, and that's really cool to go back and see it here. But it means that this game kind of lands a little bit further down on my list, because so many of the games that have come since then have improved on what this game did. But that being said, I do think that the remake that Blue Point released was top tier as far as presentation and remakes go.
Yeah, so it wound up on number 5 on my list. I have not gotten a chance to play Demon Souls on the PS3 or PS5. I did rank it a little bit higher than Sekiro because just aesthetically and the style of the game, the combat system that it looks like it has, all seems like more in line with what I'm looking for in a game from FromSoftware, in a game that I'm going to enjoy. The style, the sort of proto Dark Souls that it is, and hearing you and watching YouTube videos about how a lot of the things kind of evolved into becoming the games that I love so much, makes me really interested to play it. And I think one day, eventually, when I get my hands on a PlayStation 5 and can play Demon Souls, the Blue Point remake, I think I will really enjoy my time with it. All right. So that brings us to number 4. My number 4 was the original Dark Souls. So we already talked about that one. So it wound up at number 4 on my list. Andrew, what was your number 4?
My number 4 was Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 is a game that I really enjoyed. We played a lot of it co-op. It was a really fun experience. I think that one of my favorite things about Dark Souls 3 is just how modern it feels as a game. It feels, obviously being the most recent Dark Souls, it feels like the easiest barrier to entry. They've alleviated the most amount of just obtuse garbage that's in these games. But I think that it kind of landed here because outside of just being like the most polished and nicest version of the series, it didn't really, I guess, stand out much beyond that. That being said, I have recently started another playthrough of Dark Souls 3 because I'm so hyped for Elden Ring. So who knows, maybe going through it again, I might flip-flop a couple of these positions on my list. But where I'm at right now, Dark Souls 3 coming in at number 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely love Dark Souls 3. It popped up a little bit higher on my list personally. But I think you hit the nail on the head of it is a very modernized Dark Souls game. You know, it feels the shiniest. It feels a lot of the quality of life things that they were slowly adding to the games over the years really all kind of culminated in Dark Souls 3. And I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a really, really good game. I think it's probably the easiest Dark Souls game to get into. If you've never played a single Dark Souls game, start with Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
And then if you really enjoy it, work your way backwards. And I personally really enjoyed the sort of DLC kind of wrap up, put a nice little bow on this Dark Souls trilogy here. Not that the story was the most easy to understand, but I think it did a nice little job of like kind of pulling at threads that had been there in the other two games and kind of like connecting them in a way that felt really cool to experience, especially when at times they can feel very disconnected.
Yeah.
So, all right, that brings us to our number 3. My number 3 was Dark Souls 3. So I just talked about that. So Andrew, what was your number 3?
My number 3 was Dark Souls 2, and just gonna throw that out there right now. This is a pro Dark Souls 2 YouTube video slash podcast slash whatever we do under the name Friendly Neighborhood Gamers. We like Dark Souls 2, and I really enjoyed this game. And I don't know if it was because I went in with such low expectations, hearing about how the Souls community kind of is mixed on it. Or if maybe I just thought it was going to be like kind of old and frustrating like Dark Souls 1, which it does have its frustrating parts. But for some reason, going into it, getting into the flow of it, the aesthetics, I feel like even though it is older, the kind of art style that they chose to go with aged well. I really enjoyed this game. The Majula theme, the hub of it is one of those that like instantly hits me with like, oh, I want to go back to their kind of feelings when I hear that song. Yeah. And Dark Souls 2, kind of a surprising underdog for me. I can't really necessarily pinpoint exactly why I enjoyed it so much, but I really did. And so it earned that number 3 spot for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dark Souls 2 comes in a little bit higher on my list personally as well. I really enjoy Dark Souls 2. I played it originally when it came out. I got it during the midnight launch event for Titanfall because they both came out on the same day.
Hell yeah.
And it was just... It holds a special place in my heart, I think, personally, because I got a chance to play it with one of my good buddies, and we were like on the cutting edge of playing it. When we were playing it, there weren't guides out. There wasn't this whole YouTube deep dive community, which I really enjoyed that community, but it was cool to go through and be discovering things about this game and be able to like talk to them about, hey, like, did you know you could do this? Or, hey, did you see that? Or did you know if you drop down off of this ledge, like there's actually another ledge down there that you can get to and find this item? And so getting a chance to kind of like go in and experience the discovery of that world when it was new.
Right.
And then getting to go back and play the Scholar of the First Sins years later, where they have kind of remixed the game, changed up where enemies are, changed up where items are. It's cool to go back and experience this world that I love so much in a new way, and still be kind of surprised and have it feel fresh. So Dark Souls 2, like you said, very pro Dark Souls 2. Love that game. So if you've only heard kind of mixed reviews, check it out because it may surprise you.
Yeah.
All right, so that brings us to our number 2, which I will go ahead and start off with because that's where Dark Souls 2 falls for me, is my number 2 FromSoftware game that we are rating, or I guess number 2 Souls-like game that we're rating here. And so I won't spend time talking about it because I just did. Andrew, what's your number 2 game?
So you're telling me that number 3 is Dark Souls 3 and number 2 is Dark Souls 2 for you? There's something kind of fishy going on here. No, I'm just kidding. For me, it's another game that I have also already kind of said my piece about, and that is Sekiro. I really, really just enjoyed getting into the flow of this game and learning about the world and the lore and kind of just seeing FromSoft experiment with something outside of what they had done before. And so, yeah, Sekiro coming in at number 2 for me.
Awesome. And that brings us to our number 1 game. And if
what's left, Dylan?
Exactly. If you've been paying attention, there's only one game left that we both haven't talked about, and that is Bloodborne.
Bloodborne.
So I will start because I know this is like one of your top games of all time. And you probably have a little bit more to say about it than I do.
We'll see.
I love Bloodborne. Going in, like I didn't have a PlayStation for the longest time. It's a PlayStation exclusive. And so when I finally got a PlayStation and had the opportunity to play Bloodborne, I was going in already kind of knowing I was going to love this game because not only is it a Souls-like FromSoftware game, it is also a like Victorian cosmic horror story. And so like those are combining 2 of my favorite things. And so going in, I was all about the world and the combat and just everything. The weapons are so cool. The aesthetic is so cool. I like how all of the cosmic horror Lovecraftian things that they bring into it is so awesome. I'm a huge fan of Bloodborne, and we have both platinumed this game. We loved it so much. So I'll kick that over to you, though. Tell us why you ranked Bloodborne at number 1, Andrew.
Yeah, so I guess going off the platinum, I've only ever platinumed 2 games, and one of them is Spider-Man, and the other one is Bloodborne. And so I guess that says something. I don't know if Dylan's going to use it in the final cut of this video, but there's a Bloodborne poster right behind me. Bloodborne is my second favorite game of all time, right behind The Witcher 3. And if you know me at all, you know how much I love The Witcher. I have a very kind of up and down love story with Bloodborne and initially getting into it. And if you want to hear more about that, go check out either of the podcasts that I've done in my history, but for sure the Friendly Neighborhood Gamers one that just came out, I touch on it. Bloodborne was my, for lack of a better term, it was my gateway drug into the Souls genre, community, world, and ever since I've played it, I've been trying to scratch that itch that it created, and I can never fully satisfy it, and it's amazing. It might be a little bit of an exaggeration to say that Bloodborne has changed like how I approach gaming and like games that I love, but it really was kind of like an eye-opening new experience for me, and I love it for that. It was tense, it was scary, it was satisfying, it was aesthetically brilliant, it was very interesting to try to piece together what was going on in this world. It was like everything that FromSoft tried to do with this game, they seem to achieve, and I really appreciate it for that. I've beaten it on my own. I platinumed it with Dylan. Had a great time with this game. Honestly, like when we finish recording this video, you want to go play some Bloodborne? Like that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I kind of do.
So Bloodborne, hands down, is number one in the FromSoft list for me. We'll see if maybe Elden Ring can shake up that ranking, but considering it's my second favorite game of all time, it was kind of no contest for this list that, yeah, Bloodborne was going to be my number one.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Elden Ring. That is the last thing I want to do before we wrap this video up. And is just to kind of predict where we think Elden Ring might land on this list. When it bumps up to 7 games in length, where do we think Elden Ring might fall? Where is it going to slot in between? I know for myself, if it lives up to all of the expectations, all of the hype, all of the things that I have seen on it, I think this could take the number 1 spot. I think the competition that it has there for Bloodborne is, I'm such a big fan of like the cosmic horror story that it may not quite like that. The story alone in Bloodborne may still kind of keep it at the number 1 spot, with Elden Ring coming in at a close number 2. But I think it has a really, really good shot of just kind of surpassing everything. We don't know a ton about the story, so it could have a cosmic horror story of its own, who knows? Anything's possible with this game at this point, So what about you? Where do you think it could land?
Man, I'm right there with you. I think that if Elden Ring hits on everything that I'm hoping it will, and that it seems to be based on all the kind of pre-release information we have, I think that Elden Ring could take the number 1 spot or be very, very close second, because similar to you, I mean, Bloodborne was like my first love. Bloodborne has just that super unique aesthetic and lore and story behind it that is really hard to top, but Elden Ring's open world and the vibe it's putting off, and the fact that it seems like just a greatest hits amalgamation of all that FromSoft has done up to this point. Like, I really do think Elden Ring could crack my top 3 games of all time if it hits on everything that it's supposed to hit on. And so it could make its way to the top of this list. We're just going to have to wait and see. But personally, I hope that it becomes my number 1. But if it's a close 2, I'll still be happy there too. I'm just so excited to get my hands on it.
Yes, same. So soon enough, we will be playing Elden Ring, and we will be playing it on our Twitch channel. So if you like this little conversation that we just had, if you're interested in seeing more FromSoftware content from us, we will for sure be talking a lot about Elden Ring in the coming months here. We'll probably be playing a lot of it on our Twitch stream. You can join us at 7:30 every Friday night on our Twitch channel, neighborhood_gamers. Come out, hang out with us, chat with us about these FromSoft games.
Tell us your ranking.
If you've made it this far into the video, go ahead, tell us what you would rank these games that we just ranked. Tell us where you think Elden Ring's going to land in your list. Leave us a comment. If you're not liking or subscribing our YouTube channel, go ahead and do that so you can get more of these videos and get them in your subscriptions feed. Leave us a like so that we know that you enjoyed this video. And check out our podcast. So we kind of briefly touched on what we think about a lot of these FromSoftware games and FromSoftware just as a company and stuff in general. We talk a lot more about it on our podcast that you can find wherever you get your podcasts. It's your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers podcast. Go check it out. And with that, we are going to leave you with a reminder to stay friendly, gamers.